Fresh reports suggest Donald Trump may have pressured another Arab ally, beyond the UAE, to take a tougher military stance against Iran as regional tensions escalated. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman reportedly launched what insiders describe as a face-saving response after Iran's warnings deeply rattled the Saudi leadership. Fear is rapidly spreading across the Gulf region as several Arab governments avoid publicly acknowledging retaliatory strikes against Iran. After allegedly backing strikes against Iran, Mohammed bin Salman is now accused of quietly opening communication channels to prevent a dangerous regional escalation. Iran's warning that its finger is on the trigger comes as new details emerge about the alleged hidden Arab involvement in the growing conflict.
Also, we are waiting with our finger on the trigger, God willing, for our negotiating atmosphere, because our main outlook is toward lasting peace and...
After the UAE, Saudi Arabia's military response to Iranian attacks now appears to have been quietly confirmed through new reports. Reuters reports that Saudi Arabia launched covert retaliatory strikes after Iran targeted critical infrastructure across the region. According to reports, the Saudi Air Force carried out multiple secret strikes on Iranian targets in late March. Reuters claims this marked the first known direct Saudi military attack against Iran in recent history. The covert Saudi operations reportedly came after Iranian drone assaults across multiple Gulf Cooperation Council states. Iran had allegedly targeted airports, oil facilities, and military installations across Gulf nations during the conflict. Reuters reports Saudi Arabia informed Tehran before launching retaliatory operations as intense negotiations unfolded behind the scenes. Sources now claim the UAE also conducted recent military strikes against Iranian-linked targets during the escalation. Despite covert military exchanges, Saudi Arabia reportedly maintained active communication channels with Tehran throughout the crisis. Saudi Arabia continued to rely heavily on US military protection amid growing fears of wider regional threats. Prince Faisal bin Farhan stated that Saudi Arabia reserved the right to respond militarily against Iranian aggression. The revelations about Saudi Arabia's response emerged amid growing fears that the conflict could erupt once again. Iran's government spokesperson says Tehran is still choosing diplomacy, but warned that its fingers remain on the trigger.
Also, we are waiting with our finger on the trigger, God willing, for our negotiating atmosphere, because our main outlook is toward lasting peace and, as stated by the martyred leader, we pursue diplomatic matters based on three principles: dignity, wisdom, and expediency. Therefore, the people should know that Iran's atmosphere is an atmosphere of firmness, construction, development, and trust.
Saudi Aramco CEO said the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz is the largest energy supply shock the world has ever faced, arguing that no previous disruption matches this one in scale or duration. Amin Nasser estimated that the world has lost about 1 billion barrels of oil supply since the war began, a cumulative hit that he warned is still rippling through every major economy. He added that markets were losing around 100 million barrels per week at the height of the disruption, according to Reuters, underscoring how quickly the deficit built up once Hormuz was choked off. Nasser made these comments to Reuters on May 10th, just as US-Iran peace talks once again hit a hurdle and hopes for a swift resolution to the crisis started to fade. On the same day, the US president rejected Iran's response to Washington's peace proposal as unacceptable, hardening his stance and casting doubt on any near-term breakthrough. Nasser cautioned that even if shipping routes were reopened immediately, it would still take months to rebalance the market, because inventories have been drained and logistics chains thrown into disarray. To manage the risks, Aramco rerouted much of its shipping away from the Gulf through the East-West pipeline, shifting crude from eastern fields to the Red Sea port of Yanbu so exports could bypass Hormuz entirely. The East-West pipeline links production in Saudi Arabia's east to Yanbu on the Red Sea, allowing tankers to load there instead of navigating the increasingly dangerous choke point in the Gulf. Nasser warned that if disruptions continue into mid-June, a full normalization of the market could be pushed all the way into 2027, meaning elevated prices and volatility might persist for years. He also recalled that alleged Iranian drones had targeted Aramco's Ras Tanura refinery on March 2nd, an early strike that highlighted how vulnerable Saudi energy infrastructure had become in this war. State energy giant Aramco temporarily shut operations at the facility after the attack, according to Reuters, adding another disruption to Saudi Arabia's already strained energy network. The war also forced a temporary shutdown at Sadara Chemical Company, an Aramco Dow joint venture, highlighting how the conflict has hit not just crude exports but key downstream and petrochemical assets as well. Meanwhile, Iran and Saudi Arabia held discussions on the situation in the Strait of Hormuz even as US talks with Tehran continued, underscoring how Riyadh is trying to manage the crisis on a separate diplomatic track of its own. Iran's foreign minister said he held a phone call with his Saudi counterpart on May 11th to review the situation between the two countries. According to Iran, the two ministers discussed the latest developments related to ongoing Iran-US diplomatic efforts and attempts to revive talks. The call came as Saudi Arabia publicly denied that it had opened its airspace for any possible US military action or aggression against Iran. A Saudi official reportedly dismissed circulating media claims on this issue, describing the reports as misleading. A Saudi official said, and I quote, "The kingdom did not allow the use of its airspace to support offensive military operations. There are parties trying to give a misleading image of Saudi Arabia's position for suspicious reasons," unquote. Riyadh instead emphasized that it supports de-escalation efforts and is backing Pakistan's diplomatic mediation between Washington and Tehran. Saudi officials stressed that the kingdom has never permitted US operations targeting Iran to be launched through Saudi airspace. These denials came even as other reports alleged that Saudi Arabia and Kuwait had relaxed restrictions on US access to their military bases. The UAE reportedly carried out direct military strikes on Iran without publicly acknowledging them, according to a Wall Street Journal report citing people familiar with the matter. The report says the UAE became an active combatant in a war in which Iran had also made it one of its biggest targets. The Wall Street Journal published the revelation on May 11th, attributing it to sources familiar with the matter. The report also said the UAE's military is equipped with Western-made fighter jets and surveillance networks that enabled such operations. One reported target was a refinery on Iran's Lavin Island, according to the Wall Street Journal's account. That refinery strike reportedly took place in early April and sparked a large fire at the site. The damage reportedly knocked much of the refinery's capacity offline for months. Lavin Island sits in the Persian Gulf, making any strike there strategically and politically sensitive. H.A. Hellier said, and I quote, "The Emiratis made it clear early on that they didn't want this war. But it's also clear that since the first Iranian strikes on the UAE took place, Abu Dhabi's been quite transparent that they see the regional picture as having changed dramatically. Abu Dhabi hasn't confirmed what they have targeted, or even if they have targeted, but from the early days of the war it seemed only a matter of time before we saw increased kinetic involvement of different Gulf states in the war." Unquote. If confirmed, the move would mark a significant shift by the UAE toward more direct use of force in regional conflicts. The timing is also notable because the strike was said to have occurred near the period of a declared ceasefire. The Wall Street Journal reported that the attack happened around the time Trump was announcing a ceasefire in the Iran war. The revelation underlines just how fragile the ceasefire has become, as US-Iran peace efforts remain stuck in deadlock. On May 11th, Trump said the Iran truce was on massive life support, fueling renewed concern that fighting could flare again.